Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. This is the third video of the Ultimate Genshin series made by yours truly. And today is all about the cutest chef and the only chef of the area, Xiangling!
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Okay, so where was I? Oh, I need to continue with the video, right. I'm sure most of you have dubbed every last of your wishes in the Raiden's banner to get Raiden and Kujosara. And also, you might have got a few Xianglings on the way. Xiangling is an excellent pyro carry as a DPS or sub DPS. She can also be used as a pyro support with units like Shield to vaporize constantly or to melt constantly if you're using units like Ayaka or Ganyu. I'll try to describe as much builds as possible, even though I can't showcase every one of them, free to play. But I'll give you my views on the way. Also, I'll recommend the best set in every case scenario, so don't worry. Starting with the weapons, there are a lot of decent options for jungling, but only in the higher rarities. So if you're a very early player, you have to wait. I cannot recommend any 3-star weapons for now. Among the 4 stars, I find it funny that almost all the available polearms can be used on jungling. You cannot possibly go wrong building her using any of them. Of course, the builds will differ, but yeah. So, I'll rank all the 4-star weapons from not so good to the best. But I'll say this now. If you have already invested in any weapon from this list before, then no need to go for another weapon of high tier. Especially if you are f2p and you can build her around the weapon and it'll be fine. Also, my tier list is very conditional and the ranks I assign them is not only based on the DPS they give, but more of a mixture of ease to acquire and the damage they deal, of course, because I always try to make it more f2p friendly. With that being said, so at the bottom tier or the B tier, I'm putting the Royal Spear. Even though it has a high base attack, the attack substat is not very good for Xiangling. The energy recharge and crit substats are more important here. Even though its passive gives crit rate, which is good, but you cannot really depend on it. I mean, it's a very weird weapon. It is useful at times, and then it becomes lackluster at some. I don't know. But I won't recommend this, because 24 star glitters for one copy of this, there are way better options. Listen, this is just my opinion. If you have already bought and built one, then go for it. But if you haven't, then don't. Another weapon I'll put on the B tier is the product Star Glitter. It has low base attack and high energy recharge substat, and the passive is completely useless for jungling. You can use it if you're not getting enough energy recharge from artifacts, but other than this, there are no other reasons for you to use it. Oh, and another positive point of this weapon is that it's craftable. Moving to A tier, and the first weapon I'm putting is Dragon's Bane. It might have low base attack, but the elemental mastery it gives from its substat is sweet. But to get the maximum value out of this weapon, you need to run her in particular team comps, and that's why I'm putting this weapon in A tier. For her passive to be useful, you need to put her in vaporized teams, like with Child or with Jinkyu, as in the national team, where most of your damage will come from vaporizing everything around you. Another weapon to put on this tier is the Lithic Spear. Its base attack and substat is similar to the Royal Spear. The only difference it has that its passive is just a better version of the Royal Spear. If you're using Xiangling in the national team or in a Ganyu meld team, this is the best weapon you can go for. Otherwise, I won't recommend it. And this is why I'm putting this weapon in A tier, because it has its own handicaps. Now, the S tier goes to these two weapons, the Deathmatch and the Black Cliff Pole. These two weapons pretty much speak for themselves. But I have a job to do, right? Their base attack might not be very high, but the high crit stats and a good passive makes up for it. And I understand that the deathmatch is not exactly in the zone of free to play, but you can go for Blacklist Pole. Now the 24 star glitters will be worth it. Okay, so the moment you all have been waiting for. Nah, just kidding. In this assist tier, I first put the Favonius Lance. This is the only weapon I used because I have it max refined. It has high base attack, good energy recharge substats, and the passive also gives energy recharge, which is nice. In all the showcase later in this video, Favonius Lance is being used. This weapon is an absolute beast. The only downside to this weapon that you have to pull for it. So the refinements are tougher to get. Next comes the new craftable weapon from Inazuma, the Kitane Cross Spear. It has a high base attack, but a bit low elemental mastery substat, but it's good. The passive increases Gopa's damage, which is okayish, but after unleashing Goba, you'll keep on getting particles, and that's useful. In short, if you're getting enough energy recharge from your artifacts, and you don't have a Favonius Lance, then just go for it. It's a craftable weapon, and the refinements can be achieved in free-to-play. The last one in the list, as expected, is the catch. The base attack and the substat is exactly same as the prototype Star Glitter, but the passive is just way better. The passive gives significant boost to the elemental burst, and it gets way better with refinement. And as you know, you're bound to get all the refinements, and this is why it is at the top of my tier list. I think this is the best weapon for Xiangling till now, but yeah, you have to do a lot of fishing. So good luck with that. As for the remaining two weapons, yeah, they are for physical jangling. If you are an early to mid game player, you can go for physical jangling. But for end game, I generally do not recommend physical jangling. But if you enjoy it, then no issues. Even if you are going for the physical build, the Crescent Pike is generally the better option because of the good passive, and its refinements are worth it. I know it took a lot of time to explain 4 stars, so I'll just speedrun the 5 stars. Starting with the best in slot 5-star weapon for Xiangling is the Primordial Jade Winged Spear. With a very high base attack and a good amount of crit rate for substat, and a passive that gives the most value on Xiangling out of all the 5 stars, Primordial Jade Spear is truly the best weapon for Xiangling. Granted, you are getting enough energy recharge from your artifacts. Then comes the Skyward Spine. I'm putting it above the Staff of Homa due to the energy recharge subset. Also, to get the maximum value out of Staff of Homa, you need to keep your HP below 50%, which is not always wise for Xiangling. And at the last, I'm putting the Vortex Vanquisher, because you'll always need a perma shield character like Zhongli in your party to be able to use it. And if you have Zhongli, you're better off using it on your Zhongli than your Xiangling. Unless you have two of them, and that's very rare. Oh wait, I forgot about the new Polam, the Engulfing Lightning, right? Comparatively low base attack and high energy recharge substat, and a passive that increases attack and energy recharge further. This weapon is on par with Skyward Spine. Use whichever you like. Wow, it took an awful amount of time to explain all the weapons, and with this, you know how good jangling is. So let's jump to the artifact section. First of all, let me be clear that I generally do not discuss 3-star or 4-star artifacts because I believe that a beginner must always focus on leveling up his characters and weapons first, and the real artifact farming comes after AR45. So anyways, on Jangling, you can try a lot of artifact sets, but I'll only discuss the major 4. The first one is a universal 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames. You know, as it's the best set for all the pyro units. The only downside is that you'll get only a single stack from the 4-piece, which is 7.5% of pyro damage bonus, even though it's really good. So you can farm for it. The second one is 2-piece Crimson Witch and 2-piece Wanderer's Troop. You can use either this set or the 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames, but make sure you're going for reactions. The third set I recommend is 2-piece Crimson Witch of Flames and 2-piece Noblesse. It is the most reliable set and it gives constant damage no matter what. You can argue that this is the best set overall. Either way, I recommend all the 3 and go for the one for which you have good substats. The last but not the least, the 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate. This set is pausers, but a lot of testing is still going on over this, and you have to farm the new domain. But if you have good pieces, I definitely recommend it. But make sure you maintain high energy recharge, which is around 250%. As for the main stats, it's pretty simple. The Flower and Plume, you know as usual, just focus on getting energy recharge from the substats. For Sands, I generally recommend attack percentage, but if you are not getting enough ER, then you can go ER main stat on it. But generally, attack Sands gives more value. If you are C4 or higher, I'll come back to that in the Constellation section. The Goblet and the Circlet are pretty straightforward. Pyro damage bonus in Goblet and crit main stat in Circlet. Use crit rate or damage according to the 1:2 ratio, which you already know. Jangling's Constellations are significant and pretty straightforward. C1 reduces enemy's pyro resistance by 15% when hit by Goba's attack. C2 is not that useful, but I'm still gonna go through it. When Jangling's normal combo ends, the last attack applies the implode status on the enemy, and after 2 seconds, they burst, getting pyro damage. The C3 and C5 increases the elemental burst and skill levels, with C3 being better. The C4 is the best and game-changing constellation. The duration of our Pyronado is increased by 40%, which is 4 more seconds. The C6 gives 15% pyro damage bonus to all the party members, and this is useful only when you're using her in all pyro team. The pyro damage bonus doesn't affect her because her burst snapshots. If you don't know what snapshotting is, just wait, I'll explain it in the talent section. In the end, I just want to add that even if you have a C0 Xiangling, you can still build her. Her constellations are good, but definitely not game breaking. But her build changes a bit with her C4. If your Xiangling is anywhere between C0 to C3, you need to run a bit more energy recharge, around 180%. But if you have C4 or higher, you can go with 150% ER and you're good. Because you'll get more particles as your Pyronado will stay longer on the field. I just got C4 in this account, so I'm still running the 180%, but I'll change it very soon. And one thing I forgot, if you're using the 4-piece emblem set, you'll need more energy recharge than this. Expect around 250%. Now, the talents. I'll quickly bash through it as there is nothing you don't know except the snapshotting, which I'll explain. Only level up for normal attacks if you are going for physical jangling, otherwise, you don't need to. For Goba, I'll say it's wise not to level it up. The multipliers are not that bad, but Goba's aiming is terrible, so it's not a reliable source of damage. Her Pyronado is the main source of her damage. I have crowned it, so you can already tell. Her Pyronado exhibits a mechanism called snapshotting. It is basically when you press Q and the Pyronado starts, it uses the stats of that moment, all the buffs and nerfs, and continue it till the entire duration of the Pyronado. Suppose you are inside Bennett Q and start the Pyronado with that damage buff, the buff will remain even if you walk out of that circle. I hope you understood that. Did you? Zhangling's passive talents are nothing praiseworthy. Her first passive talent increases Goba's flame range. Her second passive talent is when Goba disappears, he leaves a chili pepper on the ground, and your active character which picks it up will get 10% attack bonus for 10 seconds. Her third passive is just a cooking bonus. So the last part of the video is the team comps, which I think I already discussed it earlier in the intro, but still. The most famous team where she is used as a mandatory is the national team, or as we call it, the Chinese team. Here she puts out most of her damage using Vaporize or Melt or both. The 2-piece Crimson Witch of Flames and the 2-piece Wanderers is generally the best option here. And then there is Modified National Team, which uses Kazuha over Xiangyun, and her build remains somewhat unchanged. And then there is Ganyu Melt Team or Ayaka Melt Team, and yeah, also the Xiangyun Melt Team, where you put Xiangyun E first, then start the Pyronado and use normal attacks to apply Cryo on enemies, on which the Pyronado can melt. There are a lot of team comps where her Pyronado can be exploited, but I only discussed some major of them in this video. Rest, you explore on your own. Well, that pretty much wraps up for this video. From this point onwards, I'll play a showcase of my free-to-play jangling for you guys to bask your eyes on while I live in peace. If you like this type of content, make sure to like, share and subscribe. You know the rules. And we'll meet in the next video. Till then, bye-bye, peace.
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。師匠の技を食らいなさい。風の雲の行くごと。さゆるか。さい。この剣はわかるかい。やあ。それ。みんなは俺が守る。もみちが散らまく惜しみ。はあ、熱々でしょ。はあ。 全力攻撃だ。それ。師匠の技を食らいなさい。やあ。かけっこしましょう。はっ。風よ。はっ。料理の時間だよ。みんながそばにいてくれるわ。はっ。さゆるこ。はっ。 話が通じないなら叩くまででしょ。くらえ。雨映画味方し。くらえ。もみちが散 散らまくをみんなは俺が守れ。話が通じないなら叩くまで。この件はわかるかい。歌よ錦となれ。雨描きがたし。はい。マイそこだ。みんながそばにいてくれるわ。風の歌雲の行くごと。はっやそれはっやせいはっはっそこだ。全力攻撃だ。股間奥義さい。雨描きがたし。いざみんなは俺が守る。もみちばを散らまく惜しみ。グオパー火を吹け。歌よ錦とな。
ついたくさ
風よやあつあつ股間奥義。雨描きがたしさい。マイそこだ。みんながそばにいて。師匠の技を食らいなさい。雲がく借りなく時。グオパー火を吹け。みんながそばにいてく。股間奥義形を話が通じないなら叩くまででしょう。いざ風よはっはっよっやっ
その身
とそれ雲が借りなく全力攻撃。左右ルコン雨描きがたし。熱々でしょ。燃えろ。
素晴らしき神。
それやっマイルはっ
万物の境
はっ
地
くらえ。
神聖なる
全力攻撃だ。もみちばを散らまく惜しみ。師匠の技を食らいなさい。歌よ錦となれ。はっへいはっみんなは俺が守れ。よっマイはっ雲が借りなく時。グオパー火を吹け。話が左右ルコ雨描きがたし。はっそれみんながそばにいてくれるわ。傷なんて痛まない。痛え。もみちばを散らまく惜しみ。風全力攻撃だ。師匠の技を食らいなさい。股間奥義さい。この件はわかるかい。はっそれはっよっはっこれよっはっやっはっやっ熱々でしょ。はっそれはっみんながそばにいてくれるわ。傷なんて痛まない。歌よ錦となれさい。雲が借りなく時。はっやっほれ風よそれそこだ。みんなは俺が守れ。よっみんなは俺が守れ。もみちは散らまく惜しみ。歌よ錦となれ。この件はわかるかい。師匠の技を食らいなさい。熱々でしょ。はっやったやっくらえ。冒険だ冒険。くらえ。グオパー火を吹け。みんながそばにマイルはっ股間奥義。話が通じないなら
へ